Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So we've had 4 schools cancelled against San Jose State University in the girls volleyball because the women didn't want to play against a team who has a male player. This was a fact that was kept hidden, that was concealed even from the players' own team members. Players on the person's team don't want to have a male player on their team either. They're in fear for their safety when it comes to training with this person. And the women in the other teams are also in fear for their safety. The other teams cancelled. Their statements only confirmed that they were cancelling their matches. They didn't call out this school specifically for having a male player. Never mentioned anything like that. They just said they were cancelling. Nevertheless, these schools were commended, and the number one reason why they were commended was for putting the safety of the women first. We've seen what happened to Peyton McNabb. She is still recovering from her injuries after getting hit by a ball that was spiked by a male player. He was allowed to play on the women's team.
Back on the 1st of September, I've seen the video. You took a shot.
It's hard for me to watch.
Yeah. What do you remember from that?
I just remember the very, very silent and shocked gym after it happened. I remember the fear from my teammates, knowing that they would have to continue to play the game even after that incident happened. And I just remember everyone just not knowing what to do, and it was just very, very traumatizing.
What was your recovery like?
It was hard. It's very slow. It's been very difficult, you know, not being able to get back into things as I have in the past. So it's been very difficult, but thankfully I'm improving.
It is a fact that women are more likely to get injured when they compete against males, and the severity of injury is likely to be greater. That is just a simple fact. That's why we have categories in sports. Of course, there are always going to be people who see somebody who identifies as trans as being the victim in all circumstances, no matter what. As long as that person identifies as trans, they are automatically the victim. Everyone else are the villains. The women are automatically put in a position of being the perpetrators, of being the ones who are bullying, of being the ones who are attacking. In fact, it was Brooke Slusser, a member of this person's team, who received death threats. So troubling that the police were called, and police had to escort players back and forth from the venue at a recent match. So I'm going to react to this video by a TRA who thinks we should just overlook males competing in women's categories. We should just overlook it. Apparently there's no advantages. And saying that men are stronger than women physically, are built differently from women, acknowledging that is bigotry.
Boise State and Utah State have just forfeited their matches against San Jose State University after Blair Fleming, an allegedly transgender woman athlete, was forcibly outed by an online gossip site and then her own teammate. Articles even called her physically imposing.
Okay, so first of all, you're describing this as someone being outed, when really, people have the right to know if somebody is male if they're playing on a women's team. This isn't about outing people. This is about the fact that this information was kept hidden. That is deception, especially when it comes to scholarships. Girls have the right to have a fair shot when it comes to their scholarships, and their scholarships shouldn't be taken by male players, by people who are posing as women when they are in fact male. Now, I don't know if this person is on a scholarship. It's more than likely that this person is, but I don't know that for sure. So this TRA is saying that it's the people who deceived others who are the victims, not the women who weren't even given a chance to consent, to say whether or not they consented to sharing a room with somebody who was male. They're not the victims though, no. They're the perpetrators apparently, because they actually voiced their opinion and said that that's not right. I don't like the fact that I was deceived. I don't like the fact that I was playing against somebody who was male when this is women's volleyball.
Seriously, that's what they're saying about this woman right here. So let's talk about it, because the abuse that Blair is facing is unreal, and anti-trans panic has got to stop.
It's not anti-trans panic, it's acknowledging fact that males should not be competing in women's categories. That is a fact. That's why we have categories in sports. It's not panicking about somebody because they identify as trans. It's not wanting to put yourself at risk because you're playing against somebody who's built differently from you. They like to rephrase these things and make something out to be bigotry. If this was a woman who identified as a man, for example, and presented herself as a man, nobody would care. That's all cosmetic. But the reality is there are female bodies and there are male bodies. And usually in sports, for safety and for fairness, those two groups do not compete against each other. Take a look around. Sports has categories. What you're saying is that we should just forget about that because somebody identifies in a certain way. But that's going to put women in harm's way, and that's going to take away opportunities from women, as they have to now compete against somebody who has a biological, a physical advantage over them, which means the integrity of their sports is ruined, which means that their sports is no longer fair. They're not given a fair shot because now they have to compete against male athletes. Women have a right to say that they do not consent to that. Just because someone grows their hair long and has even been on hormones, that doesn't make the person female. In any situation, if a boy decided that he wanted to play on the women's team, people would say that is absurd. People would say no. And what we're saying is that is the reality of what we're dealing with here. And it's not going to be seen any differently. No matter how somebody identifies, no matter what medications someone takes and how someone changes their appearance. And if somebody reduces their performance against other men, that doesn't mean that they're okay playing against women.
Blair Fleming fled South Carolina after the first bill was filed to ban trans athletes in the state. She now plays in California at
Sorry, I don't mean to keep pausing, but fled. You see how they're always trying to create this victim narrative. Fled. No, South Carolina came to their senses and said that male athletes cannot compete in women's categories. So this person went to where they were able to play. They went to Woke, California, knowing that they would be welcome with open arms, that the school would even be willing to deceive people and keep this person's biological sex a secret. They went to where they knew they would still be allowed to play in the women's category and take advantage and have all of the perks. They went to where they knew they could get away with it. It's as simple as that. Why are they always using hyperbole to describe these situations? Again, it's just to gaslight people. It's just to manipulate people, to get people on board with accepting something that under any other circumstances you would say is absurd.
Filed to ban trans athletes in the state. She now plays in California at SJSU. After playing for 3 years, she told her teammate, Brooke Slessor, who she roomed with, that she was transgender after a gossip magazine transvestigated her. Now, mind you, this is according to Brooke.
Actually, according to Brooke, as was stated in the court documents, she overheard people talking about this person being a dude. That was the word she used. This is kind of to point the finger at Brooke and say that she betrayed a confidence. When really, I would feel violated if I found out that I was sharing a room with somebody who was actually male. If I found out that I was in accommodation with somebody who was male and all along they never told me, I would feel violated. I would feel that they deceived me. And Brooke has every right to object to that. Brooke has every right to respond to that and say that that is wrong.
So what did Brooke Slessor do? Comfort her teammate? Keep her friend and her roommate's confidence? No. She ran to Riley Gaines and filed a lawsuit, misgendering Blair and calling her he. The lawsuit even says that Brooke had no idea that Blair was trans. Now, 4 universities in red states have forfeited their game rather than play an allegedly transgender woman. And I want to be clear here. Nobody had any problems with Blair competing until they found out that she was possibly trans. They played against her for 4 years. The lawsuit says that Blair's height is an advantage.
Now, before we get to that, again, the lawsuit also says that they noticed differences in Blair. They all noticed it. They all noticed that this wasn't an ordinary volleyball player, ordinary female volleyball player, because the person isn't female. It all clicked once they realized that this person is trans, is a male athlete. It all clicked. Having no idea that the person is trans, apparently that's supposed to be okay. Apparently that shows that this person is passing. So does that make the person female? Does that make the person the same? It doesn't. The person is still male. The fact that they didn't know means that they were deceived. They were deceived by their coaches. They were deceived by the school. That is a violation. That doesn't reflect well on the school, the coaches, the organizers. It reflects very poorly on them that they deceived these women. And again, it shows that the women, their needs and their rights doesn't seem to matter when it comes to certain schools, when it comes to the NCAA. What's in their best interest always seems to be put last. And we're talking about women's sports here. So if anything, their interests should be put first.
Blair on the SJSU website is 6'1". Tall, sure. But when you look at the SJSU website, there are 7 players that are above 6 feet. On Boise State's website, one of the schools that conceded, 11 players are above 6 feet. Now, there's no evidence at all that Blair or that most trans athletes that have been on HRT for 2 years have any advantage at any particular sport. And that's for a trans woman that went through a male puberty. We have no idea what Blair's medical history is. And
That is just a straight up lie. That is just a straight up lie. There's plenty of evidence. Obviously, we know that men are physically stronger than women, have a physical advantage over women. We know this. So there's those studies. And there's also plenty of studies to say that taking HRT doesn't take away those advantages. The amount that it diminishes the advantages is not a significant amount. Even being on HRT for years, they still maintain a huge advantage over women. Yes, it may lower their performance against other males. HRT doesn't turn a male into a female. Men and women are more than simply hormones. Men and women are more than height. There are plenty of women in the WNBA who are over 6 feet, as we know, who are the same height as some of the men, and they still can't dunk the ball. Men jump higher than women. The net in volleyball has been lowered. So this person has an advantage in many other ways other than height. This person clearly knows nothing about sports and hasn't competed in sports in any significant capacity. Men hit harder than women. That is a fact. And being on HRT doesn't diminish how hard they hit compared to a female. There's been studies done into this when it comes to boxing. Even if a man's on HRT, they're still going to hit harder than a woman. And that woman is going to be more at risk.
And many trans women transition young and don't. It's also important to note that we accept a large variation in biological advantages among cisgender women. And most trans women who have been on hormone therapy fall in those ranges. Just look at the US versus El Salvador basketball team. Recent bans on trans participation have happened in sports like disc golf, pool, darts, fishing, and even chess. Anyway, this is all ridiculous. Blair should be able to play, and she doesn't deserve any of the abuse that she's getting.
Brooke doesn't deserve any of the abuse that she is getting. And nobody is saying that Blair cannot play volleyball. Just play in the correct category. It's very simple. And you know what? Some of us don't qualify to compete at certain levels. And we have to accept that. And that applies to somebody who also identifies as trans. If you can't compete at a certain level in your category that aligns with your biological sex, then you're going to have to accept that or compete at a different level. You don't get to go over into the women's competition and now be number one. Many would call that cheating. There are plenty of women who didn't qualify to compete at collegiate level. They didn't go over into the little leagues and start competing with them. So nobody is saying that someone who is transgender cannot play sports. That is never the issue because it doesn't affect anyone if somebody happens to be trans is playing sports, except when somebody who was born male wants to play in the women's category and wants us to accept that as being fair when we know it isn't, and start telling the female players that if they don't accept it, they're bigots. It also isn't okay when they want to change in the locker room with female players, when they want to share hotel rooms with female players. It also isn't okay to deceive the women and conceal one's biological sex. And women not consenting to this and refusing to play against male players, against male athletes, shouldn't be met with death threats. They have every right to refuse to play, and I hope they continue to do so. Whatever SJSU wants to do about that, that's up to them. But in the meantime, if we don't want to play against male players, if we don't want to compete against a male athlete, we shouldn't have to. So let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. Take care of yourselves, and God willing, I will see you in the next video.